your support for the Untold Radio Network family of shows and join in on the conversation by using super stickers and super chats on YouTube. Got a question you want answered? Ask it live via a super chat and get real-time responses from our show's knowledgeable hosts and guests. Help keep the Untold Radio Network shows running strong. We need your support. Send your super chats and stickers now.
Well, hello, world. Hello, Aspasia.
How are you?
My name's Jay Katz, and you're on Untold Radio's Down South Anomalies. We are broadcasting from Sydney, Australia, in the nook of the mountains here in Jordan Springs
At
in Penrith.
At the foot of the
And
mountains.
we need to pay respect to
The Durrag people.
and also elders past, present, and emerging, because we are broadcasting on sacred land, like most people would be throughout the world.
All land is sacred, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And very little of it is
Being
seen
looked after.
into the hands of the original owners
Well,
of
you know.
that land. And now
Yeah.
this is episode 120, which is a milestone, especially for what's happening in our life and on the world stage, because
Would
we're
you-
all going through a little bit of hurdles high
Well,
and
it's
low at the
all-
moment.
It's all gone a bit.
We lost a really good comrade of ours
Yeah, we
in the
did.
last couple of weeks,
We
Paris
did.
Pompour,
Yeah, we did.
who was behind Groove Scooter with the beautiful Georgie and Zach here
Yeah.
in Sydney. Those people have done an astounding amount of work
They have.
in terms of counterculture,
Mhm.
especially music and film.
Reissuing singles. And
Can you just hand me that
songs.
sticker?
Oh, yeah. From
Because we love Paris.
we did love Paris.
And
Anyway,
we still love Paris forever. So our heart is
Mhm.
with you, Paris. We dedicate this episode, for what it's worth, to you,
yes.
our beautiful friend that will live in our heart forever.
Okay.
Because I have a problem with the notion of bodily death. We're only just a fragment in people's memories anyway, Aspasia.
Well, I think I keep saying, like, once someone dies, I just say, well, they're on the next leg of their journey, because it is a journey. I
It's a beautiful way to see
truly
it.
believe that our essence, our soul, our spirit, whatever you want to call it, is on a journey throughout this universe, and this is one stop.
And you've come to the
And
last, the final straw in your journey. I think I'm going to have to come around a few more times.
I'm not coming back. I'm ascending. I've
You know
done
that,
my
don't
time
you?
here. I'm done.
What are you going to
This is
do
my
without
last
me
go round.
as I keep going round and
Well,
round and round?
I'll just be hovering up there, wherever that is and whatever it is, and just waiting for you to catch up.
Yeah, let's hope you're not one of these starlight satellites, because the amount of coronal discharge from the sun at the moment is knocking those things out of the sky.
Yes.
The moment they put them in there,
Yeah,
it's such a danger, even to
No.
us down here. But anyway, look, that's a whole other story.
It is a whole
Today's
other story.
episode is Bigfoot filmed,
Yes.
Mount Zeil's UFO
Okay.
base. Now, people in the chat have been asking us to discuss this one, and we will go there.
Yep.
And Pandemonium.
Well, there is pandemonium all over the place. It's
Over
just,
the net at the moment, it's gone insane.
Oh, it has.
Are
it has.
pandas real? Are they not? What an absurd question, but we will get to that. But I did want to call this episode because every day I go to the news feed,
Yes.
I turn on any source of information. I cannot believe how quickly is this the
Things are
ultimate
turning.
rapid, unscheduled disassembly of the world at the moment.
It seems
Things are
like
just
that.
going insane. And in the last
It's a
24
free for all.
hours,
It feels like a free for all for me.
are we going to be able to get back to the friggin' moon? Because it looks like, I mean, the last tweet I heard from Elon Musk was, I am dismantling the Dragon X flights, which are the only flights at the moment that seem to be okay to be able to get people from the ISS reloaded with
to
stock.
the space station.
So it's
yeah.
that they're stuck up there.
I
mean,
what's happening there? It's
City and
almost,
Butch were one story, but now they might be
well, they're
stuck up
back
there
home
forever.
now, and they're home now.
Yeah.
Thank God, before
Yeah.
this happened, because they would have been stuck there for
But
who knows.
There's another group of up there.
Well, there's
a
always
dozen
people
or
up
so.
there,
Yeah.
and what's happening in the White House and that whole kerfuffle between Trump and Musk is just insane.
Well,
it's absolutely insane. It's almost like two kids in the sand pit, with all these toys, and now they've gone, well, that's my toy, I'm taking it back now, and you can't play with it anymore. Saying that he's going to just not.
I think too highly.
And then Trump saying, well, we're going to repeal all the funding and the contracts that you've gotten, the billions and billions of dollars worth of contracts you've gotten from us. It's just like,
and the amount of money being lost on the stock exchange. I mean, this is extraordinary. Look, I think that at this moment in time, just take a big deep breath. Don't get too anxious about it, but know that you don't need to watch anything fictional. Get rid of all your streaming services, because the entertainment is 24/7 on the world stage.
You can do the real stuff up here. In our podcast room. I
don't want to do the real stuff anymore. I'll do the
fictional stuff on the streaming services. At least, I know how those things are going to end. They usually try and wrap them up in a bow at the end. You know what I mean? Not too bad.
I don't think that bow is going to work.
This thing, I don't know how this is going to end. It's just gone insane.
Now, speaking about the moon, at the moment, Gerald White, the grandfather of the moon.
He's not a grandfather.
Well, the grandson.
He's the grandson.
Sorry,
he's taken it on. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got it from all the grandfathers.
Well, that's right.
He is searching for, and for those people in Sydney, we need you to get in touch with us. He is searching for a model of the Hasselblad camera that they used on the moon.
Taken to the moon.
So he wants to check that out. If there's anyone in Sydney that can assist us with that might have that camera in their collection, of course, we will get Jarrah back on to discuss all that. But let's just put the word out there. If you have an original Hasselblad that looks like the same thing they sent to the moon, because I don't think they did anything but put a couple of little lead plates in there, maybe. How that works with the molten fuel and those temperature differentials, I've got no idea. Please get in touch with us. Now, we have to also call out to all our subscribers and the people that assist us, the great ones like JC and, of course, Malcolm there. And sorry, Malcolm, that wasn't icing a donut last week. That was a bit of
cinnamon donut.
Alex is extraordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alex Anomi, we've got to get him back on the show. Thank God he is there, part of our little secret college. Not that secret.
Well, not that secret. Yeah, you've just blanked it.
All right. Well, hoaxing in the field of anomalies and cryptids is something that is brought up all the time. But in the last couple of weeks, a whitewater rafting has brought about an incredible image. A group of whitewater rafters evidently filmed. Well, let's have a little look at this footage and then we'll discuss it. A lot of debunking in this footage online. Course. But we choose to hesitate before we bring about judgment.
A recent rafting expedition in Colorado has rekindled one of America's oldest wilderness mysteries. On the 24th of May, a whitewater crew taking a break along the upper Colorado River caught sight of an unusual figure moving through the forest. At first mistaken for a bear, the large, upright creature appeared to walk on two legs, briefly pausing among pine trees before disappearing into the woods. Video footage shows a shadowy, fur-covered form that many believe resembles the mythical Bigfoot. The figure pauses, stares in the direction of the camera, and then silently retreats into the forest. While some viewers are quick to dismiss it as a person in costume or a bear behaving unusually, the movement has left others genuinely puzzled. The group that recorded the sighting plans to return, hoping to find more tangible evidence, such as footprints, despite the rocky terrain. Colorado has logged over 100 similar reports since March, adding weight to the ongoing mystery. Whether the creature is folklore or fact, the search continues, as one timeless question echoes through the forest: what exactly did they see?
Well, I think that's an interesting piece of footage, and for many reasons, it can instantly look like someone wearing a suit.
Sure.
But that is a rather tall being.
Well,
even though the trees at that elevation, I believe, and that's one of its highest elevations, they get smaller.
Yes, yeah, they do.
And they're between 5 to 9 foot. I read by a tracker that's been up to that elevation.
Right.
But 5 to 9 foot, that creature might have been at least 7 foot tall.
Who knows?
It had the conal head. It was sort of doing the peekaboo, which
Yeah.
we hear a lot about in
Mhm.
reports.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have debunked this without any satisfying
Well, just by
evidence to
looking at
debunk it.
And-
And that's
and-
just no way to
Well,
judge
that's
something
not.
like
yeah.
that.
Look, when I first saw it, my initial reaction was like, is one of two things. Because they were whitewater rafting in isolated, so that they just stopped somewhere. If that's the true story.
Yeah.
If they just stopped somewhere, they were whitewater rafting and they were just filming along the way, and then all of a sudden they caught sight of this. It's either they have organized it,
Right.
to be there at that time because it is wilderness.
Yeah.
And if they didn't organize it, then what would somebody in a suit
Yeah.
be doing out
It's
in the middle of
certainly-
nowhere, hoping that someone's going to come by and film them?
And
Do you
look,
know what I mean?
there is the possibility of people being in ghillie suits out there.
That wasn't a ghillie suit because somebody said it looks like a bear. So
And it wasn't
Well,
a
it's a
car
red
seat
bear.
cover. It wasn't just quickly pull the car seat cover out. Let's get some good
so
footage.
I don't
happening here.
know. I can't say one way or the other. Just from looking at it, I can't. Seriously, that researching is not looking at something and going, no, I don't believe
At
that.
the end
That's
of the
not
day,
the way to
too,
research.
I feel that there are less hoaxes than what we are told.
Mm.
We are really pushed with the line of hoax. And, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Either the footage is too clear or it's too blurry.
Yeah.
And both ways it's debunked. When
Yeah.
it's too clear, it's
It's like,
impossible.
you can't.
And when it's too blurry, it's here
like, well,
we
it's
go
too
again.
blurry. Yeah. You never
But
win.
At some point, there has to be reality to footage out there too.
Well-
so we need
well,
to
here's the
suspend
thing.
judgment
Here's the
before
thing.
we have all the evidence.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If it's real and we haven't seen anything like that before, then how are we going to know that it's real? Do you know, it's like you look at it and you go, it depends what camp you're in. If you believe it, if you believe that this thing exists, right? Then when you see something, you're going to say, oh, yeah, that's for real. That's real. It's got to be real.
Maybe.
Well,
There's some people that
no, unless it's really badly done. You can see the zipper in the back, or it's so
right.
synthetic stuff that it doesn't look real.
The Velcro is showing.
Well,
Yeah.
and then there's the people that are in the camp of the debunkers, the people that not the debunkers, but the people that don't believe it, right?
Yeah.
They're going to look at it and go, well, that's not real. That's a guy in a suit. So,
Damned if you do, damned if you
well,
don't.
it's really hard to ascertain because, like I said, there's people that you're in one camp or the other camp, and depending on which camp you're in, that's the way your brain is going to go.
At the end of the day, worldwide, with the thousands, tens of thousands possibly,
Mhm.
of eyewitnesses of all varying degrees
Yeah.
of credibility,
Yeah.
if just one
Well,
of those sightings
Mhm.
is real,
Yeah.
you've got a phenomena. And we know statistically that we've got a phenomena. There is a reality
Well,
to
just
this
the
cryptid.
Patterson Gimlin tape, that classic.
16 mil, thank
This-
you. I'm
yeah,
sick
well,
of that being
the
called
video,
videotape. It's not video,
the film,
it's 16 millimeter
okay,
film.
it's film. That even though there's been lots of specials done on it, it's of course the debunkers are going to debunk it.
Doug
It
did
hasn't been.
incredible
Yeah, no, I
analysis on
know,
it.
but see, that's fine because you can watch one film or one doco that's been done on it, leaning towards it's a fake,
Yeah.
and their evidence is compelling that it is a fake, right?
Maybe.
Because they're saying it. No,
Maybe,
because they say
maybe,
it.
Maybe.
And then the people that do believe it, then their evidence is compelling that it is real. So, who are you to believe? And you will believe whatever way you're leaning.
Okay. Well, our scientist that is quite skeptical on Expedition Bigfoot.
Well, she's not a scientist then. She can't be skeptical. She's got to be open.
Hold on. Don't pass judgment.
No, she's got to be open. Because if she's skeptical of it, then she's always going to lean on the skeptical side, no matter what she
Here's
sees.
the oddity, though. Instantly debunked that footage.
Yeah.
but said at some stage I was really excited, and I bet one day someone's going to come out with that footage. So she slipped the acceptance of this possible.
And I did hear someone say that, or you said to me that she couldn't really admit that it was real because that's the end of her show.
That is, I mean,
searching for Bigfoot. It's like we found him.
Expedition Bigfoot.
Expedition Bigfoot. Okay, we found him. It's over.
All right.
End of season.
I reckon. Look around at this footage.
Yeah.
Check out what people are stating, but go to Kind of Creepy. It's just two down-home guys that do their own analysis of imagery like this, right?
Right. Yeah.
And they are sort of fair dinkum. They're from the US, but they're very fair dinkum. They only have 248 subscribers.
Right.
But they're getting
they're
more.
in our league.
They're in our league, but they're actually getting more hits on their cast than we are.
Okay,
So-
well, they're
so-
better than us.
Kind of Creepy on YouTube. Check those guys out. I endorse them. I love the way they go about doing things.
Yeah.
And look, it's important. We're using lures here in Sydney. We're going to put this up on our front door.
That'll let everybody know who we are.
and hopefully people will be aware if they have stories in the area to come to us.
Yeah.
Because when we first came here, there was an incredible Reddit story, wasn't there?
Oh, there was.
Of an emu in the mouth.
Which actually quite shocked me because, you know, when I'm driving backwards and forwards, even just to the shops, to the local shops, I look for the emus. I look for our emus. And they're there, you know what I mean? And so when you actually told me that story that somebody had spotted a yowie with the neck and head of an emu hanging out of its mouth, I was actually quite freaked out. You know what I mean?
What do you do with those Reddit posts? You know,
I don't know.
You just keep going.
Yeah.
Now, recently, in the last couple of months, Rogan has done an interview with Hal Puthoff, who goes right back to the Stanford labs and was doing experiments in the city.
There was some
part of
weird stuff going on at the
To the Stars Academy with Tom DeLonge there and Christopher
What has
Mellon.
happened to Tom DeLonge?
He's gone very quiet. We need to actually find him. I need to do a podcast.
Chris Mellon and all the other people that were buzzing around him, you know, setting up the To the Stars. Well, they were helping him set up the To the Stars Academy. Yeah. They're still around. They're now at the congressional hearings and stuff. But Tom's disappeared. He's gone.
Well, Tom's probably been on tour. The history of Blink 182. They're going to take Chris Mellon and Hal Puthoff on tour there. I doubt it. Anyway,
they could be there.
Hal Puthoff spoke about working on a Stargate project for the CIA, which was the beginning of remote viewing.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting remote viewers, and there was a moment. Well, let's hear this from Hal's mouth himself. You are on Untold Radio. This is Down South Anomalies. We are live in Australia.
So I did, and one of the places he came up with some, but one of the places he came up with was Mount Zeil in Australia. And so my CIA contract monitor says, well, I know the CIA station keeper out in Australia. I think I'll call him, and I won't tell him why I'm asking, but I'll ask him about Mount Zeil area. So he gave him a call, and he said, I'd like to ask you about that Mount Zeil area. He says, oh, you mean where the UFOs are always flying around? Whoa. So I thought, oh, gee, So this was from Pat Price. I take him seriously. Let me give you an anecdote.
Okay.
So part of the Western McDonnell Ranges there in the Northern Territory, not that far from Alice Springs, I believe is Mount Zeil.
Right.
Mount Zeil happens to be very close to another very controversial facility that was sold to us as a joint space research facility, which never turned out to be a joint space research facility. No, it was no research.
It was a gathering, intelligence gathering.
Well, I did some research for Alex Perez, a man behind...
for the conspiracy program.
Yeah. Behind iRobot and, of course, The Crow, the director of that. And in that research, I found that they actually put, a shop frontage in Alice Springs, the Venetian, or let's call them in this frame of reference, the Venetian blinds were down 24/7. Yeah. No one had access to this joint space research facility, which thousands of children, I believe, in that area all wanted to do a school project on.
And they
but-
never got a package from them,
I
did
never
they?
got a package, but I did phone Pine Gap in the 90s
You
and got
did.
into big trouble because I nearly got the package sent to me.
You've done that phone. You and that phone got you into almost
Oh,
got you.
yeah. Well,
'cause
Christopher
Boyce, you
yeah,
almost got on the phone.
Anyway,
They
we'll
nearly
get
brought
to
you them.
Christopher
Anyway,
Boyce.
will we?
So Mount Zeil's near Pine Gap. You know where else it's near?
Where?
Wycliffe Well.
Oh, right.
I mean, we are talking about the
hotspot.
hotspot
It is
beyond
the
hotspot.
hotspot for UFO.
Let's have a look at Mount Zeil. It's up very high. It's really. Well, that's a classic.
Well, that was a 360
panorama.
from
Could you
from Mount
imagine
Zeil.
out there what the night sky would be like?
It'd be amazing.
I didn't see Pine Gap there. It is in the same region as
Right.
Wycliffe Well
Yeah,
and Pine
Pine
Gap.
Gap. Yeah.
It was never a joint space research facility. I think Desmond Ball from Canberra's ANU was the first person to demystify that.
Well,
and
it didn't
literally,
demystify. I think it was just debunking. Just
can you let me
telling
finish?
lies.
God, I love you, but you never stop.
It's a podcast. We're supposed to talk.
So in the late 70s, it was a thing of contention and
It was.
protest, and
Yeah.
still is.
Mhm.
It was revealed to the public that this is an electronic signals, and we're from the Signals Directorate. So it was taking an electronic eavesdropping.
It was an
and used for
intelligence
warfare.
gathering.
Primarily,
way
I
station.
mean, I think the most important statement is Australia, for
Mhm.
the price of one peppercorn a year,
Yeah.
became a first strike target
Yes.
when it got to nuclear warfare.
Exactly. Because of that.
We became very important in terms of the US and what was going out there, especially the tracking of submarines,
Mhm.
and still is today.
Yeah.
They used to fly massive starlifters, one of
Yeah.
the largest cargo planes, if
Coming
not
in
the-
out every week.
and they were full of data from the States.
Yeah.
So if you were growing something illegally in the US, they would send it here and map it out because they couldn't trust the people in their own department, and
Mhm.
vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the Starlifter flew out with as much electronic data
Mhm.
that they didn't want the Australians to have their hands on at that stage. They were too close to the project.
Yeah.
Mount Zeil, you can actually go to the Black Vault and check out all the documentation that Hal Puthoff was involved in terms of remote viewing there in the 70s.
Yeah.
And it is quite extraordinary. That program was distinctly funded and distinctly got results. Is there an alien base there? Well, it's
Who
as good as
knows?
anything else. When I actually did that program in 1995
Mhm.
for, it was the 10 network in Australia, and Alex
Yes, it
Flores
was.
and Oracle Pictures.
Yeah.
We got George Knapp interviewed because we
You
did
did?
the first Australian interview with Bob Lazar back then.
Mhm.
And George Knapp, Brendan Young, the director that's on one of our early podcasts
That's right.
discussing the background to all that,
Mhm.
he got George in a convertible on the Vegas Strip. And George actually made that statement that he believed that the new Area 51
was in
was now in. And of course, then you've got to.
at Pine Gap, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, something like that.
Yeah,
Well, it
in
was
that
in
area.
Australia at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
Then the other thing you've got to consider, in the 1970s, when I was hitting adolescence, puberty, in my teenage years, bang, Stan Deo with the Cosmic Conspiracy that said he came out here to work on the anti-gravitic propulsion for the US government. Stan is, not that well, but we've got to get to Stan.
Well, we better go before we're chasing the Undertaker there. Do you reckon? Well, that's but we're getting old.
With anyone that's
we're old. We're
well.
getting old now.
God, I'm feeling old. I'll tell you that much. So it's in a very interesting region around there.
Let's have some fun today and travel to a place that is extraordinary, where people have been chased off the highway into a roadhouse by flying lights. Wycliffe Well, the UFO capital of Australia in the Northern Territory, ranked 5th in the world for UFO sightings, is one of the most mysterious places in Australia. Step inside the roadhouse off the Stuart Highway and you can read the walls of hung newspaper clippings, each one accounting the UFO sightings reported in the area, dating as far back as pre-World War II. A 4-hour drive from Alice Springs, Wycliffe Well is a must-visit for the UFO enthusiasts. It's an extraterrestrial twist to your Red Centre road trip. Grab loads of water, pack your camping gear, and head off for a night of UFO spotting. It will be rare if you don't see something unusual here. We hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.
Oh, thank you for letting us show that. But there's a little bit on Wycliffe Well. So if you are flying to Australia from another country, that's got to be one of your tourist destinations.
And you're doing a UFO thing, you need to go there.
They had a big problem there. We did a lot of interviews around that time. We had friends of ours go out and research and stay at Wycliffe Well, and they told us that is where the over-the-horizon radar has a big problem in getting over the horizon, which is a paradox. And they were actually phoning the roadhouse and speaking to the owner of the roadhouse about anomalous objects.
Saying, can you see anything?
Asking if they could see anything. Then they put in the electronic EPOS machines.
Yes.
And every time an object appeared, those machines evidently would collapse.
Yeah, it'd knock them out.
Now, I'm contextualizing this, so I'm not sure exactly if that was what was happening. But they actually set up a big area they could actually go up on a ladder and watch these objects, observe these objects. And I believe after that moment of publicity being drawn to this roadhouse that became this UFO observing station, the RAAF, the GDP over the rise, they wiped their hands off. They said they'd never discussed anything with them. There's nothing out there.
There was no toing and frying back with them.
So this area of Mount Zeil and you could see Uluru there, I think, when we actually looked at that 360 panorama. So they said 4 hours from Alice Springs or Uluru. So,
but it's so isolated. There's nothing out. There's absolutely nothing out there.
How brilliant to view anomalous objects if you saw an anomalous object.
Yeah.
And I think then, look, let's just get a little touch base with the extraordinary man behind The Falcon and the Snowman, the film. Okay. Christopher Boyce.
Right, okay, we are going there.
Who actually, he was caught, he was supposedly a spy selling secrets to the Russians, but the motivation from him was because it was during the Whitlam era.
Yes.
And they were discussing, we've just done Allende in Chile.
Yeah, 1972.
Can we put a bomb under the car of Gough Whitlam because he's prying into Pine Gap?
And they didn't like Gough because he was
and so Christopher Boyce railed on that and said, if you can do this to your allies.
Yeah, that's right.
And he exposed that to the world, and that's when anyway, let's get a little taste of the profound Christopher Boyce that lost 25 years of his life over that and incarcerated.
To be sentenced to prison, you need to be able to at least exist and not, be murdered. The people were being murdered all around me, and it was a regular gladiator school where I was. So I escaped to save my life, and it's a story that I wanted to tell.
You said in a phone interview on CNN that if you had to do it all over again, you wouldn't do it. What changed your mind?
The greatest thing that you have in this world is your own life, and my actions caused me to lose a quarter century of my life. Many years of that was in solitary confinement, and it was tough. And I don't believe that I could again destroy my own life or such a large segment of it like I did. And that's why I feel so sorry for Manning and Snowden if they ever get him, because their life is going to be a living hell. They'll have years and years of solitary confinement, and I just don't believe that I could do that to myself again. So
you said that you thought you were aiding your country. Bradley Manning said that he was aiding his country, as well as Edward Snowden. What would you say now to someone who has access to that sensitive information and they're on the threshold of deciding whether to release it with the thought that they would be aiding their country? What would you tell that person about your own life experience?
I would tell them that they ought to go where they're going to stay. Snowden should have went to Venezuela or to Ecuador, not, started off on a junket around the world.
Do you support Edward Snowden's action?
Yeah.
Fascinating. So I reckon, look, if you don't know anything about the Christopher Boyce story, and I think he, in many ways, is an extraordinary story, and what he lived through is just astounding. And he actually made us all aware in here, in Australia, of the Machiavellian nature of politics and what was going on at the time. And we're, as I said, we were sold that base as a joint spaced research experimental facility. It didn't turn out to be that at all, and put us right in the danger markers. So check out Christopher Boyce. Check out that incredible
The
film.
Snowman and the Falcon is
the Falcon
film.
and the Snowman.
Oh, the Falcon and the Snowman.
With that beautiful track by David Bowie, This Is Not America.
Okay.
No. Anyway, I'm not going to sing it completely,
Well, you just
but
did.
I do love that track.
Yeah, I know.
And I love that film.
Mhm.
Sean Penn is in there.
Mhm.
It's a very interesting movie. It's a very interesting story. And look, that was supposedly his motivation. If they can do this to the people of Australia,
They're allies.
what else can they
What
do
are
to
they
all of
doing
us?
Yeah.
All right. So Mount Zeil, worth having a look around. I reckon, if you're a tourist, if you come into Australia, get yourself into the outback and check out that
Or
area.
even if you're an Australian, if you haven't been out there.
Well, we haven't been out there. We should get out there.
Yeah, we'll see.
Get on to Dom Mears and drive out there and shoot another film like the Mid Mystery Lights.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Death. Now to the most absurd thing that
it's Aspasia on here, not Miss Death.
Oh, that's right. That's your stage name. I just
It's
slipped
my
into
DJ name, please. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
and we
that's right.
mean that in the sweetest, nicest way. But if you've met this lady in the midst of
I
full
give you the look,
performance, okay.
you're gone.
So, do pandas exist? This has blown up from a 4chan post.
This is a pandemonium part.
Yeah. What a great Australian
So
film
how did
that
we get
is.
onto the panda thing? What prompted you there?
I think it's just this little 4chan thing. Let's go.
Whenever I detect something is not real, I get angry and hate it. There's no way pandas were a living species in the wild. Freaking sub-zero IQ levels, sleeps over 12 hours a day, the females only ovulate once a year. Most pandas are bred through artificial insemination. Only eats bamboo, needs at least 20 pounds a day to get by, pees upside down. Killing a panda is punishable by death. There are no registry of pandas before the 1800s. China, it's a 4,000-year-old nation, one of the most illiterate nations in the history of the world, and you're telling me, in all of that time, they never wrote about the panda? The Tainan fake panda incident refers to an incident at a private zoo in Tainan, Taiwan, where a sun bear was painted black and white and falsely presented to visitors as a giant panda. Humans are not allowed to interact directly with pandas. They used to say it was because of a human-to-panda transmitted virus. Regardless, most world leaders have their pictures taken with pandas, such as Pickrell. All pandas in American zoos are on loan from the Chinese government. The official name for a group of pandas, it's an embarrassment of pandas. What a freaking joke. They honestly believe we're that stupid?
Well, maybe. But, pandas. Is this absurd or what?
Well,
but still, it's very interesting,
they're the
isn't
facts.
it? Even in the Chinese zodiac, you don't
Yeah,
have a
no.
panda, but
Yeah.
you've got dragons, so...
Well, who knows? Who knows?
They've got yetis on Chinese temples,
But no pandas.
But no pandas. So
pandas were discovered only, in the 1860s
I think it was
or
about
something?
1869 or something, and that's the earliest record of a panda.
Oh, so it's the earliest record of a panda.
Pandas are very bizarre because they They eat the worst food for them, you know.
Well-
And if you look at their mouth, they've got carnivorous teeth,
Right.
but they are.
Oh, bamboo's very hard.
Oh, it's extremely
Well, yeah,
hard.
they need
And,
those
you know,
teeth.
and you know what?
No.
There is a dark side to pandas because you don't want to get a panda angry because those
You
teeth
don't want to get any animal angry.
cannot just
Really?
break bamboo. They
yeah.
can break bone
Yeah,
fairly
of
quickly.
course.
So they have to eat literally tons of this crap daily. So
20 pounds.
yeah. So they're up
What's
6
that?
hours, have a little break, a little sleep, back 6 hours. What's this thing about urinating upside down? If you watched a panda urinate, it's quite a frightening
I
thing.
know. It's like, what is
really,
going on here?
really freaking bizarre.
Anyway,
So I don't know. And then
have you
they're-
ever watched
they're-
pandas playing and stuff?
Yeah.
They're not the
They're really
brightest.
clumsy.
Yeah, I know.
They're
They're
out
not
of
the
control.
brightest.
No, they
animals.
reckon they have, because of all the digestive tract stuff.
Yeah,
that
right.
Their brain is tiny.
Yeah,
it's
right.
not the brightest brain in the world. I wouldn't discriminate.
Well, it doesn't-
Maybe they've got
Look,
intellect
they
in
don't
other
need.
areas.
Yeah, I don't think they need. If you're just sitting around eating 20 pounds of bamboo all day, then
Now the numbers
You
are
don't need
strange, but
much.
there's not many pandas in
No,
the
there
world
aren't.
at all.
Well, they're only in China.
yeah,
and they
I
would
think
be in a
there's
very small.
800 in captivity
Yeah.
and maybe 1,600 out there in the
It's not
wild
many.
if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're such an unusual thing.
bizarre
Such
thing,
a
isn't it?
kooky.
Because they're not even a bear, really. They're more. They're related.
like a raccoon.
Well, yeah,
or
they're
something.
related to raccoons. More.
Yeah.
They're from the
they're
raccoon
a true
family.
oddity.
They are a true oddity. But
But
anyway,
they're more of an oddity than the cheetah, which seems to be part dog, part cat.
let's not go with the cheetah
And then
because
you have to get into blood types and you get into funneling where all cheetahs can
the
actually
bottlenecking, the bottleneck
yeah,
thing,
and that you and I cannot, maybe, with my family, I cannot give them like my kidney. It might be rejected, but with cheetahs, they
all cheetahs, any cheetah in the world they're like clones of each other.
Yeah.
So if you take a kidney or some organ from one cheetah and give it to another cheetah, they don't reject it because they're all the same. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what they say there is that there was a bottleneck of
funneling, they call it.
or there was a bottleneck,
Yeah.
and only like 2 got through, right? Well, I don't understand what that means, but there was 2 left.
There are
right?
some gaps in
No.
size,
There was
I'll
2
tell you that
left, a
much.
male and a female,
Yes,
right?
darling.
And so they bred.
Yeah.
But here's the thing:
Yes.
say this male and female cheetah bred some, baby,
I'm waiting.
some cubs. Say they had 5, 6 cubs, right?
Yeah.
Males and females, and that's where the whole population comes from. Those 5 or 6 cubs.
Look
right?
at your audience.
I'm looking at the audience. So it's like saying there were 2 people left on the earth.
Adam and Eve.
No. Let's not go to the beginning.
Okay,
There was a
can you get to the point
bottleneck, and only 2 people were left on the earth. So this male and female bred, and they had about 6. Let's say they had 6 kids, boys and girls. And what they did was they went out and they propagated, the whole species. So now they're saying that because of that, you can take that all these cheetahs are now clones of it. They're clones, right? So you can take a kidney from one cheetah and put it in another cheetah and it won't reject it. But how does that not work with like humans? Because that means that we would then be clones of each other if it was just this one couple left and they had 6 kids and they went out and propagated that. All the humans then would be able to take one kidney from one and put it into the other. But that's not true, because people whose families need an organ, right, they are not a match. Siblings are not always a match. You can get a match from a stranger than you can from your own family. So how does that
negative into
so
the mix.
let's not muddy the water up. So how do this bottleneck? That doesn't make any sense in biology, that this two cheetahs were able to have, you know, these cubs, and these cubs are now clones of each other. That means that that humans would be clones of it. That just doesn't make any sense. That's crazy talk. It's crazy
Can
talk.
we get the direction back to pandas?
Okay.
Now-
Well, you're the one who brought up the cheetahs.
Okay.
I'm just talking.
It costs $1 million to rent a panda from China.
Is that a year or
Could be
just
3 years.
Oh, right. It's just that
depends.
it depends. And if you say something disparaging about the Chinese government,
Yeah, pandas
gone.
went back from the US last year.
I bet
They're gone.
every
So,
single one of them.
They are the
China.
diplomats. Don't say that. They are the diplomats of China.
Yeah. Well, they
But
send them
also,
out. Yeah.
some people believe that they're actual Chinese spies.
Oh, so they're guys in suits, are they?
Well, no. I mean, look,
How are the
there has been a couple of zoos
hang
caught
on, hang on.
out.
You're
There
telling
has
me
been a
you're
couple of-
telling me they've got little brains, really dumb, but they're the spies.
Yeah.
How are they spying?
I've got no idea.
Okay.
Maybe they're full of tracking
Oh,
devices.
okay, whatever.
There has been some zoos caught out, but
Sure.
there are people that believe every panda in a zoo is a fake. It's
Okay.
either a husky,
Oh, right,
that's
okay,
been
something
fluffed
that's-
up and painted.
Huskies
It's
don't.
someone in a
Huskies
suit.
don't pee upside down.
Okay, all right,
Anyway.
okay. Anyway, look, the panda conspiracy is interesting, but I think it's a bit up there with the flat earthers, and I think it's just another way of distracting us
Yeah.
in the midst of everything. But
From
it's rather
everything that's
funny.
really going on.
And it's like looking for who was really Hieronymus Bosch, because at the end of the day, you go, well, there is something odd here that historically this animal is not really pictorially or spoken about too much.
Right.
And yet
So
it
did
is
it
such
just
an
appear?
astounding animal. We're so enchanted by it.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, oh, look, everybody loves a panda. You know,
Yeah.
everybody loves pandas.
Okay, so
They are the symbol for the wildlife. You know, the World Wildlife Foundation.
yeah, which is
and
also rather questionable when you think about it. But anyways, look, let's not go there. Okay, you are on Down South Anomalies.
you know what? Anything that's been touched by human hands becomes questionable.
Yeah.
Because when you throw people into the mix,
So don't
it
worry
all goes
about
to hell in a handbasket.
people in Bigfoot suits in Colorado.
Oh,
I
look,
love
I
that
don't-
track by The Help, HELLP. Check this out. Colorado, it is so astounding. What a remarkable band they are.
oh, right. Okay.
So look at that on YouTube. Great clip as well. Young band doing extraordinary things with samples and all sorts of
Mhm.
electronic madness.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Colorado is a fascinating place. And,
It
you know, we
is.
do have our contentious but interesting Colorado Bigfoot that we
That
occasionally go
guy,
to Mark's
he's
work.
got a lot of issues.
But a lot of great footage
Oh,
as well.
absolutely.
And
Great
really
footage,
gets
but
out
yeah,
there.
he
So,
needs to
look,
speak
we're all
to a
paradoxical.
psychologist.
Yeah.
He does.
He
He
needs
does.
a little
No,
therapy
seriously.
to calm down.
A little bit of therapy. I
Because,
think he
you
needs a
know,
lot of
you
therapy.
can't be the only one. It's a big world we're living in. And
Absolutely.
tens of thousands of people doing research on these
Of
subjects.
course.
And look, let's not get judgy. We need to get kindness back into this world and acceptance. We really do, big time.
We're getting further and further away from being
The
human
lines
to
are
each
too
other.
sharp.
And AI ain't going to help us.
No, it's not. It's not going to help us.
I
at all.
heard, I was hearing that, you know, AI now, the companies are using AI to hire people.
Right. Okay. Well, that's really going to work. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Ridiculous. All right. Short episode. We are pushing to get interviews. As I've said, we've got a little bit of illness running in our close family here. So we are spending our time with the people we need to, the people we love really close.
Mhm.
And then, of course, look, it's family, it's children, and then it's the podcast. So if we disappear, we will be back. We're not going anywhere. We've just got a lot of stuff we're dealing with, like most people are in this
Yeah,
life.
absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Our heart is with anyone going through any strife, physically or mentally, out there. Please get in touch with us if you've found someone in a panda suit somewhere and you've got good evidence. Get in touch with us over the Hasselblad, because Jarrah White, no matter what you think of his research, that man is earnest.
Absolutely.
He's a lovely individual.
Yeah.
And he's willing to actually inspect these things and
Of
see
course.
if there's a reality
Of
to
course.
some sort of a normal bogus activity going on
That's
left,
right.
right, and center. As for the moon, you might have been correct that we may never get there now.
Well, that's
You know, with the
it's not
fight
looking
that's
good.
occurring
It's not
out
looking
there.
good at
you
the
know.
moment, is it?
Yeah, yeah. And I
Anyway.
mean, those last Starship launches haven't been good either, because the world has hit that point, Aspasia, a rapid, unscheduled disassembly. Don't you love that?
That means
term?
it blew up.
But that's
It's
what
like
they're using.
they can't even say it. It's the rocket blew up.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Saying it like that. But we've gathered a lot of really good information. So, well, how many blow ups do you need to gather really good information? There's been blow ups. It's like, how much more information from a blow up can you get?
Yeah.
You've got 10, 20 blow ups. What new information are you going to get from the next blow up? It's just,
I tell you,
it's
you
all
did
about
blow
the
up, didn't you?
semantics, isn't it?
That was an interesting
A
film
lot
as
of
well.
yap, and no action.
All right.
That's the problem.
All right.
All right, kids.
Katz and Aspasia here.
Yes.
For Untold Radio Network, we love. Check out the new show, American Monsters. There's so many
It
great
is. Yeah,
other
absolutely.
podcasts on that
Absolutely.
channel.
Yep.
Please try and help us to go viral. I don't know how we're going to do that, ever. And we're actually descending. Talk about being shadow banned. We don't give a damn. What we give a damn about is that everyone that subscribes, supports us is okay. And if you're not, reach out to us. We will respond. And we will be back. Well, might not be next week. It might be the week after. But when we
at
do
least try and do one a fortnight.
Yeah.
Until
we get up
things
to
change.
speed.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
All right, our heart is with you. Take
Thanks
good
so
care.
much.
We love and adore you all. Be
We'll
safe.
see you soon.
Yeah, and watch out for those pandas. It could be someone in a suit or a husky that's been given a big blow dry.
Bye.